Welcome back to a brand new episode of Buller and Mandalore. I am your host, Jeremy Buller, and I just wanted to take you out to this special spot late at night. I'm fucking tired, people. I just went to an amazing pizza shop. If you're ever in Dulwich Hill, go to Scarfo's Pizza. Honestly, best if you go get the Scarfo special pizza. It's fucking chili, olives, and just basically if you could get cum, like pasta cum, like it tastes so fucking good. Where I am right now is in Sydney Harbour, but this is Luna Park behind me with the harbour bridge, so you can kind of see a glimpse of what it is at night time. I am at Lavender Bay Wharf. This is one of the most beautiful spots. I'll put a photo right now. I'm not going to put it where my finger is, but I'm going to put a photo there. It is so, so beautiful. And I mean, you can kind of see they light up Luna Park at night with all these Christmas-esque lights, and the Harbour Bridge just always looks like that at night time, unless it's vivid and everything gets lit up in like multiple colours. Anyways, look, that's not the point of today. I actually wanted to talk to you guys today about a topic that I saw on Reddit again. But okay, I'm scrolling through Reddit all the time. I mean, I think I've got a little bit of an addiction to it. I love Reddit because it's like an awesome forum where people can have really cool conversations. And I saw a conversation that people were having, and they talked about the specific question that I'm going to talk about today. And it is about if the Empire kept using clones and kept creating clones, would they have been more successful? Would they have beaten the rebels? Now, again, it is a really loaded question. Okay, I understand that there are so many aspects that are going to go into this and so many different arguments that you could kind of throw and so on. Just to make sure, with this one, I do want to talk about it with only Jango Fett's clone DNA. I'm talking about the clones from the prequels, okay? Now, is this a big factor? Fuck yeah. They could get anyone's clones. They could get they could get anyone's DNA and make clones out of it. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the specific clones that we had in the prequel era and then moving them on to the original trilogy. Okay, so if you guys have seen The Bad Batch before, which I assume if you're watching my channel, you're a Star Wars fan and you've seen The Bad Batch, but if not, The Bad Batch are actually a really cool interpretation of the clones. It's talking about this genetically mutated or modified clone group, a squad, where they have different specialties and they kind of work out to be like the A team. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's like you've got all of these people with these awesome powers that, I mean, who the fuck wouldn't want to have dead-eye precision or, heightened senses, insane strength? It kind of does feel like a little bit of an Avengers cast. So, but you can kind of see in The Bad Batch, they talk a lot about the clones, and in the later season, which is the final season of Bad Batch, they talk about the clones being implemented into the Empire. And I thought this was kind of a really cool topic to talk about because, I mean, if you know anything about the physicality of the clones, the DNA itself, they got it from Jango Fett, who at the time when he was constantly around on Kamino and he was, creating a bunch of different clones through his DNA, just like constant random DNA samples, they could make clones with the same efficiency. And, it's not really watered down DNA where it's spliced like the Bad Batch. So you have like really strong copies of the original source. Now, when Jango Fett died in Attack of the Clones, we actually get to see a really cool thing of, well, they're using the last amount of his DNA. Now, it's not like they can't replicate it and make any more. Like we did see Nala say create Omega from one of the first. She kind of like perfected his DNA and turned it into someone who was literally basically the embodiment of all of the Bad Batch, which was really cool. Obviously, other than Wrecker's strength. I mean, she just had all of the skills to pay the bills. But what I found really cool with that one is that they could still use and harness that DNA from a first generation source and create Omega even years after. Even though, yes, she was created around the same time as Rex and all that kind of stuff because she was in the first wave of clones, I thought it was really cool that they could kind of continue that on there, and then that could be the genetic pathway to be able to create more off of her. It's kind of like Boba Fett. He was an unaltered clone. The DNA was not weakened, it was not stretched, it was not made to age, so they have a better source to be able to go with. So continuing on with that kind of thought and that aspect of it, well, we do get a little bit of kind of here and there. Now, the Empire specifically didn't want to keep the clones because they were so easily trained and they cost so much that the government could kind of look at them and be like, oh, well, they're a bit too dangerous. Like, that is an actual army. Whereas the Empire kind of wanted to frame themselves as, hey, guys, we are the salvation. We are the solution to all of the problems. You heard of the tyranny of the Jedi. Down with the Republic and rise of the new Empire, So it was very much a way of them being like, hey, look, guys, we're trying to take care of the people and we're going to use the people. Now, once they got into the Empire, they realized, they go, hey, look, this is not actually fucking what I signed up for. It's a funny thing called propaganda, motherfuckers. But, propaganda aside, they were able to use a bunch of different people and species from all over the galaxy, unite them under one regime, which was the Empire. But were they skilled fighters? Now, there's a couple of things that I kind of want to hark back to Rebels, actually. Rebels, the animated cartoon show. Now, in Rebels, we actually see a really funny scene when Rex is on a Star Destroyer and he's kind of like running around shooting in Stormtrooper armor and he's got a Stormtrooper helmet on. And what he does is he's like missing all of these shots and he's got the classic Stormtrooper aim. I mean, if anybody knows, Stormtroopers notoriously have the worst aim that has ever been fucking created or shown in all of Star Wars. Like that stupid fucking quote from Obi-Wan in A New Hope when it's like, oh, these blast points are far too accurate. It must have been Stormtroopers. It's like... No. Then they just become the laughing stock later on of these just like stupid people who can't aim for shit. Well, Rex actually puts on one of the Stormtrooper helmets and he starts shooting and he misses fucking everything. He misses everything for a couple of reasons. Now, lore-wise, the Stormtrooper armor, it was made out of plastoid. Now, plastoid is actually something that dulls your senses and I don't know what the opposite of it repels all of the blaster bolts, so they go in different directions. But beyond that, you can't really see out of the helmet. It was confirmed when Rex was like, oh, like takes it off and goes, he's like, I can't see out of this bloody thing. So you have ineffective armor, and you have the just general consensus of conscripted people who don't know what the fuck they're doing. It doesn't look like it's a recipe for success. In the end, we know it wasn't. But could the clones have helped that? Now, let's say Kamino wasn't destroyed. We saw in Season 1 of Bad Batch, well, at the end, it was destroyed. Spoilers! But it was destroyed by the Empire. The Emperor basically used the clones to be able to turn everyone against the idea of the Jedi. And then it was a whole struggle of like, are these guys human? Are they not? Anyways, really cool. You go check out my breakdowns of Bad Batch, and you kind of get to see a lot of that more in detail. But what was really interesting with that was they've destroyed Kamino, and they destroyed every single part of it. So let's say we remove that aspect. They continued making clones. Now, besides the DNA being really, really fucking weak and just absolutely like... it gets to the point where you're just making watered-down, absolute shit versions of the same clones that can't really stand up to the abilities of first-generation clones, like Rex and so on, which is why you get to see a lot of those guys who are trained by there's like null troopers. That's a whole thing that you can go in. That's a lot of legends. I don't know if you guys can hear. There are some really loud motorbikes on the Harbour Bridge right now. That's wild that they're that loud that you can hear it here. Anyways, so basically, my girlfriend's here, by the way, so she says hi. Hey. She's so pretty. So basically, like, all of the first generation clones that were put out, they were they were superior in every way. They were trained closer by Jango Fett and, instilled in a lot of the different aspects of training, a lot harder, honestly, a lot faster to pump out, which means that they had a lot more war experience, like Rex into the Battle of Geonosis, fucking straight away, Cody, all that kind of stuff. So, you don't get to see the same quality, but forget about the first generation. You've got all of these different generations coming out. So you've got weaker clones, and you've got just inherently not the same quality conditions as what you had before. The Republic was so much nicer to clones. They treated them as humans. They treated them as real, they treated them as real allies in war. But the Empire didn't see it that way. So if you talk about the culture of everything when it comes to, the clones in around the Empire's rise and the Jedi's fall, you get to see that they remove all the colors. They remove every single aspect of their brotherhood, of kind of like banding together under one flag. And, yes, they're separate. You got the 501st and so on, but they're all clones, and we die for our brothers. We fight for our brothers. You don't get the same. There's a really cool episode of The Bad Batch, season 2, actually. It was with Crosshair and Mayday. I believe it's Mayday. Basically, it was the snow episode, which they went back to in season 3. But it was the snow episode where you get to see the eagle going above the head, and Crosshair basically goes, "Oh, well, I'm not treated like I exist in the Empire. I'm just a tool to them. They don't see me as a real person," which I fucking am. Yes, he was birthed by a clone, but he was still a person. He still has human DNA. He still has the ability to speak, to converse, to be able to actually make his own decisions. He is just as human as the rest of them, and a lot of them just treated them like tools. So you continue with that same mind frame. Well, what the fuck do you think they would have thought? Personally, I think that the clones, if they were chucked into the world of the Empire and they kept on creating them, I think it actually would have led to a faster defeat and a faster failure if the Empire continued down the same track of treating them as tools. They are so unbelievably proud to fight for who they fight for. Like, you can even see in Bad Batch season 3, you've got all of the boys, like Commander Wolf. He's so adamant in fighting for the Empire because that's the right thing to do. He completely believes in the propaganda. He is fighting tooth and nail for people that he doesn't that don't treat him like he fucking exists. To show the loyalty and dedication of the clones, to be able to kind of break them down like that, to show the kindness of Rex, and which is just generally and inherently a Jedi trait, because he's hung around so many Jedi his whole life. He's kind of had those aspects and the way of thought and and conversing. He's had it through his training with the Jedi. So to see the way they would turn, I think it's very evident that with all of the conditions that they were put under, there's absolutely no way that any of the clones would be able to survive any fucking length of time without slowly giving up, just like they did in Bad Batch season 3, and you kind of see them slowly phasing out over time. Which would have led, honestly, to the end of the Empire so much faster. I think as well, like having stormtroopers who are conscripted means that you have a better grasp on the galaxy as a whole as well. They had far more control. They were a very strong military force, from their beginning because they were able to use the propaganda that was generated around the evilness of the Jedi to be able to band people together from smaller backwater planets that just generally don't know all of the politics and everything, and they're promised a better life. So you're given these people who are, yes, they care just as much as the clones, but at the same time they don't have the failure of the clones of treating their brothers like they are, their family. Which I do say treating their brothers because I guess they all are related. But, in the same way, the clones really just did have that connection with each other so much more than the stormtroopers. And, besides being just inherently a better military force, if you put, don't get me wrong, if you put stormtroopers of the perfect, at their peak time in the original trilogy up against peak prequels clone troopers would wipe the fucking floor with them straight away. Militaristically, they are far superior. Training wise, they've been training since they were literally in the fucking womb, being indoctrinated, plugged into their fucking brain with all of this information. Sorry, they are going to be far superior, but just numbers wise, and in purely fucking working conditions. I'm not talking about OH&S. But, the working conditions in itself, it's fucking dog shit. So I put this question out onto my Instaham. So I said the exact same thing, do you think the clone troopers could, if the Empire used the clone troopers, blah, blah, blah. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm losing my fucking words. Anyways, we got a couple of really cool responses, and one of them at the end, which was a large response, which I'd really, really like to kind of talk about. All right. Star Wars Sith 66, the fucking goat. The goat. Go check out his recent video with ICCC. I'm not going to say ICCC. I just did. But, it sounds so stupid. ICCC. All right? That sounds so much fucking cooler. I don't know why they would call it the ICCC. That's fucking stupid. It's like calling it the World Wide Web. Just www. It's so much shorter. Anyways. He said, yeah, they could have made experimental clones like the Bad Batch. Brother, you know what? I do agree with you. I do think that there is absolutely a way for them to kind of work around that and be like, well, we can create super soldiers like we did see in the end of Bad Batch when they kind of turned some of the older clones into newer ones with all of these cool different effects, and they basically gave them all of the Bad Batch's DNA and they spliced it all up and made super soldiers. And it's like, that's really cool, but on a grand scale you would need the bodies for it, and you would need kind of the captains. Now if you continued with that, yeah, I'd 100% agree with you, but that could only happen with the destruction of Kamino. You could not do that. You could not do that with the Kaminoans and their technology. They are way too proud. So in an alternate timeline, in an alternate situation from what I talked about before, I think that's definitely a far superior force than any clone that's ever been created. But only because of the backbone of the clones that were available. So, you know what? I feel like, yeah, I'd 100%, I would definitely pick those guys to be far superior than any of the other ones that we saw before. All right, let's go Darth Christensen 17. Okay, so he said the clones are way more experienced than stormtroopers. So yes, agree and disagree. I agree because absolutely they are far more experienced. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they are better. Like I talked about before, working conditions, living conditions, talking about a bunch of different, the fucking worsening of their DNA and all that kind of shit. And how they just generally degenerate faster than any other, life form that's in the galaxy. Because they're made that way. In that way, and with the limited source of Jango Fett's DNA, yeah, you just couldn't do it. You just couldn't do it. But I do agree with you. If you go based purely on experience, yeah, blown out of the water. Which is why I do fucking agree with you overall. if you put the Prime Stormtrooper against the Prime Clone Trooper. Fucking, blown out of the water completely. Classic Martin. He said, more target practice for the boys. I don't know what the fuck you mean by that, Quirky. All right? I don't know what you mean by that. I love you, but more target practice for the boys. We're not shooting clones here. We're not shooting our brothers. We're shooting the damn clankers, motherfucker. So, from Padawan Pops, he says, or Padawan_Pops, he says, Palpatine still would have lost, but not sure if the rebels could beat a clone army. No, I don't think they could beat a clone army, for sure. Like, there's no fucking way. With the, like, purely munitions, everything like that, like, you could not beat a clone army in itself. However, I think they have the power to turn the clones. Like I was saying before, like it's very much something that you could sway their minds before you sway their spirit, like they're just far more impressionable to people who treat them better, like the Jedi did, because they didn't think the Jedi were evil. They were just programmed into thinking that. They loved the Jedi. I mean, you see Ayla Secura and all of her clones. I mean, she fucked one of her clones. If that fucking says anything, she got dicked down by a fucking clone trooper. That's pretty hot. Check out the fanfiction on Reddit. I haven't, T. I haven't. Don't tell her. I'm like halfway through the editing process and I got another message from Star Wars Nerd 00, none other than the GOAT himself, the guy who always comments on my videos and my streams, and I thought it would be so ridiculous of me not to add his response into the fucking video. So apologies for this random cut. I will warn you guys before you would have already seen a warning. Okay, doesn't matter. Basically, you guys know the question. It was, I mean, just to remind you and to kind of remind myself, it was basically, would the Empire have been more successful if they kept making clones? Star Wars Nerd 00 said, abso-fucking-lutely. Imagine the wrath of the Empire, or imagine the wrath the Empire would have had if they kept making clones. There'd be an unstoppable force. Palps was dumb in switching to recruits because they were nothing like the boys. Now, in hindsight, obviously, I've made the fucking video and I've been listening over to a bunch of different responses. I will say, kind of in like a little bit of a finalized with that one, I do agree with Star Wars Sith. I think if they kept on making 66, but I do agree. Like if they kept on making clones who were like special, like the Bad Batch, or even when they were making, the Empire was actually making their own version of clones that had all of them had that Bad Batch-esque feel. That would have been fine. That would have been cool. And kind of adding those guys in would have been the most insane force ever. But I don't actually think it was that dumb that they added in a bunch of like a bunch of like random people from across the galaxy. As I was saying before, like it just creates more control galaxy wide. If you make yourself seem like, okay, how do I put it? Like anything, like a lot of cults, like religious-based cults or whatever, they basically say, here are all of your problems, right? Here, this is every single problem that you have got, and don't worry, we've got a way to fix them. So the Empire creates the problems for these people in the whole galaxy, and then they offer, under the guise of an external force, and then they are the ones who come in to be able to help them. And a lot of people think about today, like a lot of the people who join the army based purely on the fact that they're promised good pay, a bunch of like different rewards. You get free dentistry. I mean, here in Australia, like all of these amazing things, you get to be a part of a culture. It's definitely the same, and it's the reason why George wanted to make them not clones in the first place, like random people, because they're offered a life. And they're offered a life that they wouldn't have been able to get before. Think about the poor people, all the kind of guys who struggle for money anyway, and then they're promised like a massive fucking return of just huge amounts of benefits for not just themselves but their family. And you kind of see it with Solo, like in Solo when they've got all of the people who are signing up to get out of Corellia, to get a better life, to kind of move on, and it may not be the best thing, and they may not agree with everything that goes on, but they've been promised a better life, and maybe the risks outweigh the rewards. Oh, sorry, the rewards outweigh the risks. Anyway, I thought that was a cool thought. Thank you so much for commenting. I had to add you back in there. So I'll cut right back to the video, but I hope you guys are enjoying so far. Love you all. So yeah, pretty much. That's my long way of fucking answering that. The Galactic Cantina 66, a fucking weapon, by the way. I love you, bro. Love you, love you, love you. Sends me the nicest fucking messages. And just generally is a fucking top bloke. Said, I believe sticking with the clones... Now, this is a longer one. He messaged... Sorry, just before I fucking go into it. I'm such a dickhead with it. You can message me longer responses. In my Instagram DMs, in the comment section down below, like fucking anything, anywhere. Don't worry, just fucking message me. I'll check it. Just make sure you put on there if you want it to be answered on the next week's episode, because otherwise, I'll just respond to it there. Because I'd rather be able to read it, write it down, and then think about it when I actually film my episode, so I can give you a genuine live response. Like all of these, I just blindly fucking write down, and then I talk about when I see it. So he said, sorry, I believe sticking with the clones would be a short-term solution. Yes, they would be massively increased in efficiency, loyalty, and better in combat. But the disadvantages would be a lot more expensive. Clones would age faster, and the Jango Fett host DNA would wear out. Brother, you know what? I know you got a channel, man. I know you got a channel, and I fucking hope, with a take like that, I fucking hope that you make YouTube videos. If you don't make it right now, I'm pretty sure you do. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure you do. Make some, because I fucking love that. I absolutely love that. Like that right there. I mean, yes, that encompassed literally my whole argument 10 times faster than I ever could. I do think, it's the problem with Jango's DNA wearing out if we're continuing with the fact that Jango died in Attack of the Clones and they didn't destroy Kamino. Let's just say, because the whole thing is, it's like, oh well, yeah, you could say so many different things about them not doing anything, and them destroying Kamino and so on. Like I get it, but they destroyed Kamino because they were done with the clones. So if they weren't done with the clones, they wouldn't have destroyed Kamino. So I'm gonna kind of work with that one. So yeah, we wouldn't have Jango Fett's DNA. Yes, they would be far more experienced, but over time, they would decay, and over time, you could not create the same quality of clones, and their army would just be generally weaker. You get to see a lot more disobedience when the genes are altered too much. Like, I mean, you get to see with the Bad Batch, they aren't even affected by their inhibitor chip. I mean, yes, it's because they are severely altered clones. But we don't know. Maybe it could get to the point where the DNA is just so weak that they could not do the same fucking thing. And they could not create the same clone. So, I'm going to call it there. Thank you guys so much for joining along. I really enjoy these kind of conversations. If you want me to talk about anything at all, put it in the comment section down below. If you want me to kind of do a little bit more research on a topic and then just chuck it the fuck up, dude, I'm gonna chuck it the fuck up. I will do any video that you guys want. Just fucking anything that's not nudity, because don't get so upset. I know you guys are probably like, Jeremy, all I want to do is see you butt naked, spread out on a fucking bed, getting absolutely railed by a Brazilian man called Ruiz. I get it. I understand. But it's just not going to happen. But any questions that you got, any Star Wars stuff, any fictional universe, fucking anything, ask me a question, I can talk about it. Even if I just do like a short video, that is the point of my future stuff with Bite-Sized Blore. So, which I think is a fucking cool name. I think is a fucking cool name. I made that myself. I think that's a fucking cool name. I got the idea from Jack Muston, my very good friend. I love you so much, bro. If you're watching this, I love you. But I got the idea from him. But he was talking about like a Warhammer. He was talking about this Warhammer guy who makes all these like little short clips and then some big ones. And he goes, dude, you should like Yoda's Yaps. I think that's a fucking cool name as well. I think that's a fucking cool name. But I like Bite-Sized Blore. I like Bite-Sized Blore because it is small and it's got me in it. So and it's very much my channel, Laura Mandalore. But yeah, no, I can answer all of that on there. So do whatever you want, say whatever you want. I love you all. I appreciate you all, every single one of you. I'm fucking 149 subs right now. That is bonker chonker wonkers, man. Fucking bonker chonker wonkers. Dude, crazy like a fucking coconut, man. I'm slathering ecstasy-laced baby oil all over my body to go to a fucking Diddy party because of that one. Like, I'm ready. I'm like one subscriber off fucking PewDiePie, dude. I'm so close. I'm so close. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. I'll catch you in the next one. Don't worry, I actually didn't go to a Diddy party. I didn't go to any white party. I don't fucking do anything bad like that, like the fucking diddler. Yeah, fuck that guy. Love you. Bye.